morning and welcome to the Tourism Nova Scotia webinar series. So excited to have you here for how to create compelling photos with your smartphone. My name is Nick Fry and I'm the Manager of Business Development with Tourism Nova Scotia. And just want to say again, thank you. The COVID-19 latest outbreak have had significant impact on tourism around the world. The webinar series offers powerful information you can use to steer your business through COVID-19 and enhance your business as we are again welcoming visitors. Tourism Nova Scotia is the current marketing organization for the province of Nova Scotia. We help lead initiatives to grow the tourism industry. So today's webinar, we're going to have lots of opportunities to ask questions. You can put the Q&A at the bottom, and we'll share a resource after the fact with links to the recording. We'll also have an opportunity for you to send email questions after the fact if you have anything. A really great webinar, of course, is aided by some really great engagement and questions from the audience. So thank you for joining us today. Again, so happy to have you here, and just really excited to have this presentation. So we have Bridget Havercroft, photography, and Bridget's a lifestyle and business photographer, and we're lucky enough to see some of her beautiful photography prior to this webinar. I'm just really excited. Bridget has many accomplishments, having the Best of the Bunch in the Grapevine magazine, nominated for the RBC Women of Influence Award in 2021. And the Women of Excellence Award for the Best Home Business. So congratulations, Bridget. Bridget's love of photography started at a young age, and she merits her love of the printed image to her grandparents and her numerous photo albums. Bridget tells her stories through the modern day digital image, and she's established in many industries, food and beverage, corporate headshots, branding industry, as well as the real estate industry. So really excited to have Bridget here today. I know we have lots of great tips, and you don't have to worry about taking screenshots or writing things down. We will share this presentation after the fact. We'll share the deck out. We'll also share the video of this as well. So if you have any follow-up questions, please feel free to ask. So I'd like to invite Bridget to take over the screen and share her presentation. Again, I encourage all questions to come through the Q&A at the bottom, and just really looking forward to it. Thank you. And Bridget, welcome.
Muted, aren't I? Hang on a second. There we go. Thank you, Nick. That was a lovely welcome. And good morning, everybody. I'm absolutely thrilled and delighted to be here and to be sharing with you some of my proven tips and tricks that I've learned along the way. I'm not going to stay too long on talking at the beginning because I think there'll be tons of questions at the end. So I want to give you guys time to answer questions. So without further ado, I'm going to share my screen, and let's just give this 1 second and then we will go. So share and play. So yes, good morning. And yeah, my love of photography, as we said, started at a very young age, but I didn't actually get into photography until 2009, and I officially made it a business in 2016. Literally everything has grown from word of mouth since then, and I'm thrilled to say that some of the people online today watching this are clients of mine, so it'll be really nice for them to watch some of the tips and tricks that they can use for their own websites. Now, that's not to say that you don't really want to use a professional photographer anymore, because I would love, obviously, for everybody to keep hiring as professional photographers. And there is a time and place where you need a really good image. But for you to be able to get something up quick, to get fast inventory turnaround, or you're about to get a real estate property listing up and you haven't got the professional photographer yet, you can do some sneak peeks. So I'm aiming this particular webinar at product and real estate photography, but a lot of the tips and techniques I'm going to give you should be able to be used for all sorts of photography. So the first one, and yes, I am dedicating a lot of this to iPhone, but there will be some Android clips that I'll be able to share with you as well. So a lot of people don't realize there are 4 ways you can open up your iPhone, and if you want to do it really quickly. So the first one, for those that have the more modern day iPhones, you just have to press and hold the camera icon on the screen, and that will launch the app. The second one is if you are already using the phone, you're in the middle of it talking and you just need to take a picture, you can actually drag down from the top of the screen if you've got the modern iPhone, or from the bottom of the screen to open up the command center. And this allows you to click the icon that you see there, and then you can launch the camera. The third one is when you pick up your phone, you can just swipe horizontally from right to left. That's probably the one I use the most, which is really quick. And I don't know if anybody's trying it right now, but you have to be in a lock screen for this to work. So your screen has to be actually locked, and you just pick up your phone, swipe to the left. Now, not all of the iPhones do it, some of the older models don't, but a fourth trick, if you have Siri set up, you can set up a command with Siri, and your command can be, hey Siri, open camera. So you could be driving along and you've got your camera set up, and in fact, my computer and my iPhone are now screaming at me because I just said, hey Siri. So sorry, that was rather amusing.
Sorry, I didn't quite catch that.
See?
Could you please repeat it?
Anyway, for Samsung phones, this one is the A21. You can press the side key twice very quickly to open up the app, or on your locked screen, you can just drag the outside the circle. So you get the little camera icon and you can drag it outside the circle, and that will open it up. And obviously it also depends on which phone you have, and not all features are available when you launch the camera app this way, because it's still officially in a locked screen. And as it states on the bottom here, and this is with every iPhone and cell phone you're talking about, please make sure that the camera lens at the back is cleaned often, because a lot of people forget about that. Another tip and trick for taking really good photos is making sure that that camera on your phone is steady. So if anybody can see at the top of the screen, if they can see me, this is how I hold my phone when I am taking a picture with my phone. I use my little finger and my thumb to hold the sides of the phone, and then the three fingers at the back, and obviously the camera is at the top. I say top, it's at the bottom when you hold it like this, but you know what I mean, when it's like that. Okay, so that really gives a very good steady hand, allowing this hand free and able to touch the zoom button or whatever it is you want to do. Okay, so I've got a really good steady grip on the phone there. The other trick is to keep your elbows tucked in. So your elbows, and then this again can do when you're taking pictures with a proper camera. I do the same thing. Always keep your elbows tucked in, because if you're holding them like this is going to increase the judder. The other thing is to also try to give yourself some support when you're taking a picture. So you can put your elbow on something, be it your knee. You can lean on a bench or lean against a post, lean against a tree, lean against a wall. Just help steady yourself. And if your hand isn't steady and you really do need an extra bit of support, you can hold your wrist to help you get a better picture, and then use your thumb. So you just have to do a bit of jiggery pokery here. So I now have my thumb available. If I need it, I'm now holding it with two fingers at the back, and my little finger and my second fingertips to the thumb, and I now have my thumb available to take the pictures. Okay. Last but not least, breathing. If you really want a steady, crisp picture, take a deep breath before you take the picture, hold your breath and take the picture. That all helps enhance. So if you use all of these tips and techniques, helps get a steady picture. Okay, now if you want to know very quickly some ways to actually release the shutter, these are the 5 quick ways to release the shutter. The obvious one is tap the shutter button. That's really obvious. But did you know that some of the phones, you can actually take the picture using the volume buttons? So you have 2 volume buttons at the top. I think it's just the top right one, and maybe both. On some phones, you just have to literally press that. Now, again, that can cause a little bit of juddering. So if you want to, you can also use a headphone. If you've got headphones that have the volume control, you can use the plus and minus with the volume control to take the shutter. And then I have a Bluetooth selfie stick, which has a remote control. So you can actually, with the selfie stick, you can put it in the stick, you can put the phone right away from you. So you're not even holding the phone itself, you're holding the end of the selfie stick. And I have a remote control, and you can use the remote control. And you don't use it just for selfies, you can use it for, obviously, if you want to take a little bit more of an aerial shot of your pictures, that will help give you a much steadier hand. The final one is using the self timer. So the self timer is on the top left-hand screen in the portrait mode. So I'm just going to quickly open up my camera, and I don't know if you'll be able to see this, guys. So I'm just going to open up my, hang on a second, here we go. So I have the screen open, okay. There's a little chevron at the top. I call it a chevron. And it literally, you press that for it to come down, and then you've got all these options at the bottom, okay? And the middle one is the timer. So you can press that and it will open up a timer. Now you've got it set timer off, but you can take a picture and set it for 3 seconds or 10 seconds. So that's also a really good trick. All right, everybody get that? So with the Samsung, you obviously tap the same kind of shutter button, okay? You can change options in the settings so that it'll tell you for shooting modes as well. At the bottom of the screen on the Samsung, you can select whether it's going to be a close-up or it's going to be a distant shot. The little tree icons, they're for sort of landscape further away or closer up. And you've got shooting modes, a preview thumbnail, and switching between the front and the rear cameras, okay? So before you take a photo, if your subject, be it this flower or be it some food or be it anything particular, you want to make sure that you're actually locking on the focus to that subject. So what will happen is with iPhones, they tend to try and do the work for you. They try to figure out what it is you're trying to take a picture of, and you need to tell it. So all you have to do when you've opened up the screen, and I'm going to switch over again. So when you've opened up the screen, tap the screen, and you will see a little yellow yellow box. Okay, you probably won't see it on my phone. I'll just move it there. There you go. When you see that little yellow box appear, that's where the area of focus is going to be. So that's what you can change as you are moving around and you go, okay, no, I want this to be my area of focus. You touch the screen, and when that yellow box appears, that's going to be your area of focus, okay? So the same thing with the Samsung 21. You can actually spread 2 fingers apart on the screen to zoom in and pinch to zoom out. Alternatively, you can drag the lens selection icon to the left or the right, and the zooming features are available only when using the rear camera. You don't get zoom features on the front-facing camera, and that's for both the iPhone and the Android. And you can adjust the brightness by tapping the screen, and then an adjustment bar appears and you can press plus or minus. So this is where separating the focus area and the exposure area. By doing this, you can allow the focal area to be where you want it to be, but you can expose light for areas that you don't want to be in focus. Now, I'm going to show that a little bit more here with this shot that I took. The area of focus, this was a project that I did in Smith's Cove. And it was a architect's project. This used to be an old garage that they converted into extra living space. So it had a door at the front facing the mountains and a door at the back facing the ocean. And I wanted to get the shot of the view, but I wanted to allow a little bit more light in to the space so you could get that depth of field. So I focused on the outside view. Now, the trouble is when you do that, if you use that tap the screen and you do that, you'll find that what it'll do, it'll make all of the other areas really dark because it's focusing on the amount of light that's coming in through that door. Don't worry too much about that. As long as you get the shot, which is the outside, you get that you need, you can lighten up areas using post-production. So yes, you are going to focus on light areas and the dark areas will look extra dark, but we can tailor that in post-production, but just by lightening up the shadows. And that's exactly what I did here. And a bonus, the cat decided to come outside just at the right time. So, hey, I got a great shot. So for exposure, we've tapped the screen to adjust where we want to take the focus. And when that little white box appears, you are able to use the slider up and down. And you see my screen here? My phone is adding more light by me sliding up and less light by me sliding down. So it's at this point, you can decide how much light you want in the image, bearing in mind that that's the whole image that'll brighten up and brighten down. So all the blacks, all the shadows are going to obviously look washed out if it's too much light, and all the blacks and the shadows are going to be too black and you'll lose some of the detail. So there is a fine line between the two. So you can play with that, just tap the screen, wait for the little yellow box to come up and then slide up and down, okay? Once you've got the focus and exposure where you've set it, okay, you can actually, if you want, lock it in. And to do that, I'm just going to explain this first while I explain this slide. Once you've actually decided where it is that you're going to lock the focus, you hold and keep holding until you get this little area and it says A&E AF lock. This is what I did with this photo here with my big camera. I locked my focus and my light actually on the fisherman's net basket in the ceiling, because I think you can see there's some actual lights that are lit up there. Now, had I focused for the whole area of this slide, I would have lost the detail of the light bulbs that are lit up. And also I would have lost the detail of outside. Some of what you do with your camera gets the shot you want, but it might lose some detail, and you can do post-production and lighten up the shadows, which is what I did here. So not every single photo you take is perfect for the final shot, but focus on the area that you want to be perfect, and then you, in post-production, you can improve it, okay? So I'm going to ask a question. It's more a rhetorical question, but you can sort of answer it in your head. Which do you think was taken with the iPhone and which was taken with a professional camera? Whatever the answer is, it actually doesn't matter. So the one on the left is an iPhone picture and the one on the right is a professional image. The one on the left, does that do the job? I took this of a project that I was doing in Wolfville, fabulous property that is for sale, by the way, for 1.6 million, if you've got that in your pocket. I took this just with my iPhone and I haven't edited it. I haven't straightened the lines, which I would normally do with my professional camera. Would this be good enough for a sneak peek? If I did a bit of editing, yes, but for this image, what I'm trying to say is sometimes just taking a picture for a sneak peek doesn't have to be perfect. If it does the job, then this picture on the left would be great for a sneak peek. This picture on the right, yes, I used a professional camera to get this because I wanted to get the light, but still get the atmosphere with the candle. But this was just an example to show it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to do the job, okay? So we have certain shooting modes within the iPhone. We have portrait mode, which has different f-stops and lighting techniques. Now, for all those who don't know what an f-stop is, it is a way of telling the camera where you actually want to focus on and the distance it's going to focus to. So on cameras, you'll probably see like f4.5 or f2.8 or f5.6. They're really sort of common numbers that they use, and they can go up to f32. If you're taking a picture in the far distance, you want a higher number. If you're taking a picture really close up, the lower the number, the better. And quite often, the lower the number, the more expensive the lens is. So in portrait mode, with the modern iPhones, you have the option to use f-stops, which helps give you that soft blurred background when you're doing portraits. So you can make it a lower number so that the face is all kind of in focus, but the background blurs. And as in this picture to the right, I used a low F number to focus on the one hook and let everything else fade in the background. Okay, so you can play with that in portrait mode. And again, it's just about opening up the chevron. So if I quickly open it now, and I'm going to open up the, oh, sorry, just close my screen again. The buttons are always in the wrong place. So this little chevron here, if you tap that, it goes down and it brings you your menu while you're in portrait mode. And in the top screen, you will see there's a little F in a circle. Can everyone see that? So press that, and then a slider opens up at the bottom. And you can slide this up and down so that f1.8, when I'm focusing on the front, the back will be blurred. I don't know if you saw that there. It just sort of quickly blurs because I'm putting my hand close to it. Okay, so it's focusing on my fingers and it's trying to blur the background. Okay. When you've got it on the high number f16, it's going to put more of the background in detail as well. So they're great for landscapes, but portrait mode really isn't a landscape one. But just so you know, it will have the background in as well if you're taking a portrait for yourself. You can also alter dimensions and the exposure compensation. We can talk about that. If anyone's got more questions about that, I can talk about that at the end. I obviously want to get through this to give you as many tips and tricks as I can. Other features are the LED flash. The flash on the phone, I use it for a flashlight, not on a camera. I only ever use flash when they're external, because when they are shot from the camera itself, be it a digital one or a camera phone, that light is just coming straight at the person and it bleaches and it can be too bright. It's not controllable. So flashlight on your phone is a flashlight. That's all it is. Try not to use it. Yes, if you are doing something that you need it for, and it's desperate because you're outside, there are ways of taking pictures that you can change the timing so that it takes longer to take the picture to add more light. A lot of them now have night mode. We can talk about that too. Live photos. I don't like using live photos. It's great for certain things, but most of the people I know, they turn it off. If you're using it because you want to show a little bit of movement to your photo, because that's all it does, and if that's your style and that works, great. But if, like me, I like a proper still photo, I turn it off. But it's just a way of adding a little bit of movement and sound to an image, and that's it. So shooting modes for the Samsung. To change the shooting mode, you just drag the shooting modes list to the left or the right, or swipe the left or the right on the preview screen. And that helps you select a shooting mode you want. And the shooting mode will appear at the bottom. And so you can then choose which one it is that you want. You can also, by tapping live focus video or portrait video and tap the circle in the bottom right of the viewfinder, they'll give you more options, and these can be altered by using the slider. So similar to portrait mode with the iPhone, you can blur the background around the subject that you are filming if you are using video. And also, if you click the big circle, it creates the focus circle around your subject while severely blurring the background. So that means that the bit that you really want, the face, is in focus and everything around it blurs. So it makes that image pop. And also you can do the same with colors. You can actually change the sharpness of the colors directly around your subject so that everything becomes black and white, which I think is also really neat. There are some glitches with that, so just be aware when you're using it. It's a very, very sensitive, so you have to have a good steady hand to know where you want the black and white image to be and not bleeding into the actual subject. And once you open this feature, also you can actually automatically apply chosen filters if you want to. Most of the cameras do have built-in filters in the smartphones, both the Samsung and the iPhone. There are filters that you can use either while taking the picture or after in editing the picture, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. I've already told you about live focus. It's not something that I use, but if you want it, all you have to do is tap live focus and the circle in the bottom right corner of the screen comes up. You just tap that and you have a few options that you can alter here. You can blur the background with the big circle, creates a focused circle around your subject, severely blurring the background. Color point, this changes the sharpness of the colors, and then you can also zoom. It creates an effect where it looks like you're moving towards the subject at high speed. So there are lots of little things that you can play with. The Samsung also, like the iPhone, has an ultra-wide lens, and if you want to take in a great landscape while you're also taking the subject, obviously use the ultra-wide lens. And then when you want the just ordinary wide angle, on the Samsung, it's just the icon with 2 trees. In the iPhone, the ultra wide lens, I have the iPhone 11 Pro, and this one does have a really good ultra wide lens. The caveat I'm going to say about ultra wide is, and I'm just going to bring up my option here because there we go. When you've got an ultra wide option, it automatically opens on the iPhone with the option in the middle, okay? If you want it really, really close, if you want it really, really wide, you press the 0.5 or just 0.5. That will actually open up the really super duper wide angle. But what it will do, it will distort lines, or what I call leading lines, okay? So you have to be careful where you actually place the camera when you take an ultra wide lens. So if you have a doorway like this does too, don't know if you're seeing this, straighten the camera to match the doorway lines, both top and the bottom. That will help you get rid of those distorted, wide angled, where it sort of seems to make the subject at the front look really massive and the subject at the back really small. So it's about moving things around, okay? Wide-angled shots, though, are very handy when you're trying to get in a lot of space and you want to give an actual feel of how big a room is. So in this actual shot here, I shot wide open. So I was using the ultra-wide lens so that I could get the left-hand side and the right-hand side of the room in. That also will take a lot of photo real estate space above and below that you don't need. So in post-production, you can then crop the top and the bottom off. You've still got the image that you wanted. You wanted the impact of how wide or big a room is, but you don't need to see all of the ceiling and you don't need to see all of the floor. You just want the focal point. So again, post-production will help you crop these images to make it look more presentable to the eye. And this is the same here with the cottage that we did in PEI. I wanted to get the depth of the room, but I didn't necessarily want all of the ceiling and all of the floor. I just wanted the focal points, which is the fabulous kitchen. So we just cropped it at the top and cropped it at the bottom. So in Samsung Pro mode, you also have options changing your ISO. And for those who don't know what ISO is the way of controlling the sensitivity to light. The lower the ISO number, the more detail, but it's also allows less light. So you will get a far sharper image. You won't get any noise, as we call it, which is like that pixelated and grainy, but you won't get as much light in the picture. So if you are trying to get a really good, great, sharp, detailed image, you'll need external light to help you keep your ISO low. If you're in a room where there's very little light and you don't have any external lighting at all to help enhance the picture, you can change the ISO setting to a much higher number. It will add grain and noise, and it'll make it look grainy, but if it doesn't matter, if it's captured the image that you want and there's no other way, so be it. So you can change the value of the ISO, and you can also change the white balance. The white balance is the color by which the camera perceives is the ambiance of the room, created by light bulbs, created by natural daylight, created by light bouncing off color in the room. So if you've got a bright red walls and you've got a bright sort of orangey light bulb, the whole ambience of the room is going to look orangey, and yet our eyes tell our brain that we know that that white sideboard is white, but the camera is going to pick up all of that light reflecting back, and it's going to make it look orange. So you have to change the white balance, and that can be done in the camera. And you can also change the exposure value by changing it up or down. And again, these are settings that are in the camera, and you can get into those. And if I'm obviously going through this really quickly, but you can research in your manual or on Google, and that will help you find all of this information, which is exactly what I did, so that you can then figure it out for your own particular camera. The same, again, you can activate or deactivate the flash on the Samsung phones. You can select the length of the delay before the camera automatically takes the photo so that it can give you more time. You can select the aspect ratio, which is the 3:4, 4:3, 2:3, 16:9. These are all how much of the picture it will capture. And you can also apply a filter effect. A lot of people like to do these. They have a set style and aesthetic that they like to use. So they may have a set filter that they use every time they take a picture. And on the Samsung A21, they also have a metering method, which determines how much light that is calculated when taking the picture. And it determines, using that, whether it's in the center position of the shot, or whether the spot using the light in a concentrated area of the shot to calculate the exposure. So there are some really, really good, I want to say techniques, but I'm not techniques, but good tools that you can actually use within the Samsung camera phones. And they especially have one called Food. The Food mode is pretty similar to our portrait mode for the iPhone, and it will help blur the background. So as in this image here, this one particularly, the background blurred because I used a specific f-stop that we talked about earlier. So in Food mode with the Samsung, you can literally, it helps give you more vibrant colors, it blurs the background. All you have to do in the shooting modes list, tap more, click on Food, and then tap the screen and drag the frame over the area to highlight. In other words, drag the frame over the subject that you want to be in focus, and the area outside that frame will blur. And you can resize the frame by dragging the corner up or down. So if anybody's got Samsung now and they want to practice this, open the shooting modes list, tap more, click on the Food, tap the screen, drag the frame around the area to highlight. And you can be doing this with iPhones too in portrait mode, by the way. I don't think you can change the size of the screen, but you will be able to tap and play, and you'll see the areas around the subject blur. As I do using a professional camera, this is how I took this shot and this shot. And these are the fabulous, I should say, by the way, I should go back and explain. This burger, this is Paddy's in Kentville. These are their amazing burgers and their beer and their onion rings. And these are the amazing shortbreads from Sable Shortbreads in Kentville. My favorite is that double chocolate chips. I'm hoping I'm making you hungry because they are so good. So now we're going to talk about experimenting with light and how light enhances your subject. It can help light and create mood, how light tells the story, and also the use of the golden hour. So this one, using light to enhance a subject, this was a corporate headshot I was doing for this lady who works in TD Agriculture. Every year I take a picture of her in some different environment in agriculture. And this particular year we did it in a cornfield. And this was done, I think, around 6 o'clock in the evening in September, just before the sun sets. So the golden hour is the hour before the sun sets and the hour after the sun has just popped over the horizon. And they are the most beautiful times of day to actually shoot natural light. We photographers call it the golden hour because the light is golden, and it's before, if the sun rises, you'll see as it rises, the color spectrum changes. And then as it sets, it also changes again. So those 2 hours of the day are the best days for doing family portraits, self-portraits, anything that wants that beautiful warm glow. And this was used to enhance the subject. You can also use light to set the mood. We're back at Paddy's here in Wolfville this time, and this is their crafted cider. This was taken in front of a window, and the window itself had quite a little bit of light coming in, creating the darker shadows on the left-hand side. So it helps give that 3D sense of depth, that realism, and there was no camera trickery, no external lighting on this one. Everything was just shot in front of the window. Same here. This one was used, this was shot in front of the window of Planters Ridge Winery in Port Williams. This one really does tell the story, and I don't know if you can see it, but if you look at the bottle itself, the window is reflecting the vineyard back in the bottle. And I think that in itself tells the story. So when you're shooting a subject, be aware of what's around you, be aware of what you can use to enhance the picture. It's not all about clean, bright, white backgrounds anymore. There are definitely things you can use to help tell the story. So this was, did I plan it that way? No. Obviously, I just wanted to use the picture, the big picture window to capture as much light as I could. It was only as we then put the bottle in there that we actually saw that it was reflecting the window back and the vineyard, and you can see the blue sky. So I actually concentrated on that and turned it into something which really does enhance the mood. And back to the golden hour again. So this was a cottage in PEI that I was asked to take pictures of, and I got to stay there for 3 or 4 days as part of a trade-off. Yeah, sometimes my life sucks. They wanted me to capture the cottage at different times of day because it changes all the time. Every day is a different sky. Where I live in Sheffield Mills, every day is a different sky, and it just blows my mind. So I was capturing the outside of this cottage at different times of the day to try and get more drama. And this particular shot, capturing the sunset just between the railings there and allowing that golden light to spread all around, was just beautiful. And I think that tells the story itself. And then sometimes when life and light gives you lemons. So I was shooting this model and I had my camera settings set for a picture where there was not a lot of light. So I had increased my ISO so that I had more light coming in the camera, and I increased the exposure compensation because she was under a tree in shade. I then moved her to a different area where I made a rookie mistake and forgot to change my settings, continued to shoot with everything wide open. And because of that, I had so much light coming into the image, it bleached it out. And when I saw this in camera, I was like, oh no, I've ruined the shot. I've not got the one I wanted. And some moments too are just, you can't repeat it. So I downloaded the image anyway. And in post-production, all I did was make the shadows and the darks really dark, and that just highlighted the sort of overall. So in the end I get away with it, but it doesn't always work, but I'm happy with this one. So back to product shots and creating ambiance. Again, natural light. All of these pictures here were taken with natural light, no external flashes. But what you can do is when you put things up against a window and you've got too much dark on the other side, use a whiteboard or a piece of paper or something that has some white reflection on it. And I just to give you an example, this is just my iPad case. You know, whatever you've got, you can use it to help bounce the light around you, okay? So don't be afraid, don't think you have to go out and buy expensive lighting and setups. Just if you need it, just get a piece of whiteboard. You can go to Dollarama and pay a couple of bucks for 2 white pieces of cardboard and allow the light to bounce back, which is what I did here with the burger and I did here with the beer. Literally on the other side of where the light was coming in, I reflected light back to where there was too much shadow to allow a little bit more light. And with Hutchinson's Maple, this was shot outside with no external lighting. It was just in the shade. Sometimes I don't shoot things in the sunlight. I like to shoot it in the shade so we don't get that contrast of shadows. And we just used the snow and we used a little bit of props and hey presto, there's the picture. Product shots using natural light. Again, this is Haskap Highland Orchards Preserve, one of the best Haskap preserves I've ever tasted. My good friend Elaine, she actually made all of these recipes in my kitchen, and these were shot in my kitchen by my big kitchen window with no extra lighting, just a whiteboard, balancing the light back. And the one on the left, the cheesecake, actually that's not the cheesecake, that's brie. At the bottom left, that is brie with the Haskap preserve on it, and that was shot outside in my garden. So a lot of these images, yes, I'm using professional camera, but I'm also using a lot of natural light, and you can take these pictures using your cell phones, okay? And then when it comes to real estate, perspectives and creating depth of field is key. You want those people who are looking at your pictures on the computer, they want to see to the other side of the room. Too many times I've seen pictures of rooms and houses where the actual back of the picture is all dark and you get loads of shadows and you're kind of like, oh, it looks a bit creepy, or someone's left the toilet seat up. They don't actually create any feeling of wanting to walk through to the other side. So be aware of what you are using to light up a room. Have all the lights on in every single corner of the room. If there isn't enough lighting in that particular room and they've got some corner lamp in another room, grab that corner lamp and put it in the corner. Light up a room with as many lights as you can when you're shooting inside for real estate, just to create that kind of feeling of like, oh, I want to go through to the end there. I want to see. And like here on the right at Planters Ridge, that fabulous patio that they've got. Yes, you want to walk towards the to the door leading to the winery, but also you want to see the view. And of course, they have an amazing view. So who wouldn't want to go there? Never mind the wines. So now I'm going to switch to editing tools using apps such as Touch, Retouch and Snapseed. Now, I'll try and be very quick here, so I know there'll be some questions afterwards, but these are 2 apps that really, really help anybody do their job. On these 3 images, the top 2 were taken with my cell phone, the bottom one is taken with my professional camera. But the top 2 have bits that are distracting, and the bottom one has the 2 knots in the tree that are distracting. So with the Touch Retouch tool, you can use object removal or quick repair or line removal. So in the top one, with my dog Blue here, on the left-hand side of the image, the dog bowl is a little bit distracting to me. The image with my pool, you can see there's loads of drinks laying by the pool. So using the Touch Retouch tool, I used object removal, and I've highlighted here on the left-hand side at the top, I've removed the bowl, and on the top picture by the pool, I've not only used object removal, I also used line removal, quick repair. And then on the bottom one, I used the object removal just to get rid of the knotted trees, as you can see here. Snapseed. Snapseed is an amazing tool. It really is. And it has a lot of tools to use, and it's free. And if you haven't already download it now. It's an amazing tool. You can tune the image, you can create different perspectives, you can expand images, you can just select an area that you want to change and not the rest of the image. You can do head posing, where you can actually slightly change the tilt of the head. It has a lot, and you can end up going down the rabbit hole with this one. So I'm warning you now, it is a great tool. Just don't get stuck using it because it's very addictive. With these 4 images here, each one of these taken with my cell phone. Top left, you can see that the gate is a little bit wonky because I was using the wide angle tool. Top right was similar, with the fencing looking a bit wonky and a little bit too much gray and not enough of color with the sunset. A selfie shot of me, I would like to have a little bit smoother skin, thank you. And also I kind of wanted to change my head tilt. And then the bottom right, this is the pool area, and it was a gray day. And so it kind of, everything, the sky and the color of the pool look great, but everything else looks a bit sort of bleh. So I just want to brighten it up a little bit. So using some tools, I straightened the line perspective of the fence. I removed, let's go back again. I don't know if you can see it. There is one of those little LED daylight rechargeable, I forget the word, you know what I mean. I took that out, so I'm going to go back and forth so you can see. I did take it out, not very well, but just very quickly I did. Going back to the landscape in the sunset, you can see I've sort of straightened the edges from a little bit wonky, and I've cropped it a bit, and I've made the sunset a little bit more dramatic. When we go back to my face, I've just altered ever so slightly the angle, and I've smoothed the skin. I've tried not to do it too much. I don't want it to look too dramatic. And then with the pool area, I've added a lot of contrast and color, and I did overdo it because I kind of wanted to show the difference. And I think you get the idea. So there are a lot of tools that you can use within Snapseed. It's just a case of, you've got to play with it, practice, have fun. Don't be afraid. You can always go back. You can always undo. So you'll never actually lose an image. And one thing I will say, when you're ready to actually save an image you have created from a photograph, save a copy. Don't save it over the original, because if you decide you want to change it, you've still got the original you can play with. Okay. All right, everybody. I'm going to hand back to Nick for any more questions.
Thanks, Bridget. We definitely have a few questions. That was really excellent. So I'm just going to go through from top to bottom. I would, of course, encourage anyone to ask any questions while they're on the webinar with us. So one question we had from Valerie was, and this is from this earlier, but how do I get that slider to appear? Okay, so Valerie, I'm going to open up here. Okay, so I'll touch my face, or I'll touch somewhere anyway. I'll touch this object here because it's against black. It's just at the side of the box. Can you see when I tap the screen? It's actually on the iPhone. There actually is a little sun icon. So all you do is, you don't actually have to tap the slider. You just tap the screen anywhere around it and it will light up and down. Just keep dragging your finger up and down. Are you able to do that? Everybody else following along, they can see that. You can tap, slide up and slide down. In fact, while I slide down, you can see it more there. And if you see my screen, there you go. Okay. All right, I hope that answers the question. Valerie said, yes, thank you. That's great. Can you please talk about night mode? Yeah, night mode. So in your area here, let me just, where are we? I'm gonna bring it up. It's not the flash. I'm just, bear with me while I find it. I think, you know what? I think it automatically comes up on the iPhones. And I'm just trying to see if it's on video. No, I know it's on photo, but on mine, it does automatically come up. I'm just trying to see. Where are we? No, I can't see it actually say night mode. So sorry for not answering the question directly. But on mine, it automatically takes 3 seconds to take a picture at nighttime in the photo section.
in this section. So if you're not sure, just look it up, just Google night mode for your particular make of phone, and it will actually explain how it works. Okay, I'm sorry I didn't answer that perfectly.
Yeah, I just did a little Google sleuthing. It says it automatically turns on when the camera detects a low light
There you go.
environment.
Yeah. So I don't know which phone you have, but if you have a Samsung, it probably has something similar too, but it might actually come up with an option. So just Google it.
Google is all of our friends.
Oh,
Okay,
isn't it?
yeah. So this question was, they apologize that it's a basic question, but we're all usually in the same boat. Having issues saving photos from iPhone, need them in JPEG or PNG, and they show up as HEIC.
Right, so HEIC stands for high energy or high efficiency something or other. It's about, it tries to compress the amount of memory that it uses so that it's more efficient. You can actually change that in the settings if you don't want it to shoot in high efficiency. And I'm going to just quickly look it up while we're talking in settings for the phone. So I think you just go into settings, and I'm doing this very quickly myself while I look for camera there. That's camera plus. I don't want that one. Here we go, camera. Preserve settings. Nope, not that one. I know it's in here somewhere. Formats. There we go. Okay, so when you go into camera settings, click formats, and you can see it actually does shoot automatic, sorry, it does store it automatically in this, it's called HEIF or HEVC formats. Most compatible will always use JPEG. So if you want to use most compatible, just switch it over to most compatible. And that's all you have to do.
Perfect. All right. Any more questions? Again, keep them coming. We have any special tips for waterfront photography?
I would say again, when you say waterfront photography, Corey, hi, by the way, do you mean like if you have a property by the ocean, like you've got a lake or if anything is like that, then I would say, depending on the angle, do you want to get the property and the water in the shot? Are you able to sort of go over to the side? And it needs a little bit more of a question there. So while we answer the next one, if you want to sort of write a bit more of a specific.
He said waves, lakes, just the water and the shoreline.
Okay, just the water and the shoreline. I would say don't shoot it when it's really bright daylight, because you're just going to get lots of contrast. Use the golden hour, because you'll get some nice golden reflections of waves. And you can, I wouldn't say kneel down, but crouch down if you can and get that perspective. You know, if you take it sort of low down with the light low as well, depending on where the sun is, when the sun is low, and you can get a little bit of the shoreline as well as the water. You know, if you shoot it low down, you get definitely a much more better depth of field rather than taking it high up and pointing down on the water. Hope that answers the question.
Wow, somebody said, holy moly, this is a value pack session. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Crystal.
I don't disagree. It's been excellent. Kate Clark says, best light and mode to use for glass beads.
Natural daylight in front of a window, definitely. And Kate, bounce the light back a little bit with your whiteboard so you don't get too many shadows, and create something. I think, Kate, and you be delicious if you are, hello. And I've seen your beads and they're gorgeous. If you have something of interest that the beads are on, then I would say create a set first and use that set by your window constantly. And that way you can actually just keep changing the beads around, but also use whiteboard to sort of reflect things back a little bit. But be aware of reflections with glass beads. So when you're reflecting your light back towards the image, be aware that you're not getting that whiteboard reflected in the bead when you take the shot.
Perfect. Okay, we have, is there a way to adjust the shutter speed on iPhone?
I don't think you can adjust the shutter speed. You can adjust how long it takes. And this is going back to night mode. It automatically does take sort of 3 seconds for the shutter to take a picture. It holds it open while it takes the picture to add more light. If you want to take lots of pictures, you can use burst mode. And burst mode is, again, I'm just opening up my camera here. You literally, all you have to do is hold down the shutter and it will take loads of pictures at once. And it'll take like 5 or 6 pictures at once, and then it'll put them in your folder and it'll show just one image. And then if you click on that, it'll say burst mode, and it'll say, oh, 6 images. And then you can choose the best one you want and then get rid of the rest.
Okay. This person says, I love your work and explanations of how we can take more professional photos. I still have trouble holding the camera correctly.
Okay, Madonna, hi, by the way. Madonna, just quickly, I just have to say, she was one of my most amazing, just because you're fabulous, models. And just, I took some amazing pictures of her. You should go on my website and have a look in my Just Because You're Fabulous section. Madonna, I think it depends whether you've got a steady hand or not. If you can and you've got a steady hand, great. If not, don't be afraid to get little mini tripods just for phones so that you can actually then use a shutter release if you need to. But again, for me, it's holding the camera like this is really good. But also I have grid mode on my phone. I don't know if anyone can see the lines. And in the settings on the iPhone, you can actually turn that on. And with the rule of thirds, as I am being taught as a person taking pictures professionally, you want to be able to line up your images using the grid if you can, and then you can actually sort of like line it up using the grid. You can figure out where things are straight and where they're not. For me, when I'm shooting properties, I have a property I have to go and shoot in half an hour, believe it or not. I often shoot low down, so I'll actually take the picture down here because I don't want all of that ceiling and I don't want all of that floor. I just want what's in front of me. So I kind of will take it low down like this. Now, it's hard to do that because you can't always see what you're taking, right, with your cell phone because you're used to doing this. Okay, so don't be afraid to have it low down and a bit of a bendy neck and you know, sort of play with it. Okay.
Okay, that's perfect. Right, so Neil McKenzie agreed with you, said changing perspective, laying down or crouching down or changing your perspective to something different than normal really does help.
Yes.
Bridget, I cannot get the live mode off permanently. It won't work in settings or manually. I have to do it each time I take a pic, which is frustrating when you want to get a quick picture.
That is strange. I think even when you're actually in the settings, I think there's also an option when you open up, and I'm just going to bring it up here. This with the little circle with there's a line dragged through it. I don't know if you can see that, Wendy. That's your live mode. When you click it, it's on auto, on or off. So it's not actually in the settings, it's actually in the photo app itself. Try that, see if that works.
Oh yeah. I see that. It's funny because sometimes when I like the live photos, but I never have changed it. So sometimes half the time it comes on, half the time it doesn't. So That's a great tip. Okay. Avila says, and I've had this trouble too, I just gave up, but I have trouble taking pictures of full moon between trees, but doesn't, I'm assuming, work or something like that.
It's really hard when you've got something in its way because it's trying to set itself for the thing that's in front of it. it doesn't know that the light behind it is what you're trying to get at, because that light, it's not an object. It's when it's dark to the phone, that is just a light source and it's not an object, so it won't be able to focus on it. So it's only going to focus on the trees that's in front of it. It's really, really hard to do, and it's something that you have to be able to adjust the focal length and the timing by which you take the picture. So it's not something that's very easy. I'm lucky if I've done it once.
It seems that the newer cameras keep getting better at nighttime shots.
They are. It's the trickery is in all the electronics, not the user.
Right. Which is probably good for just a average everyday user. Okay, next question. I played with it a bit on the cell phone, but not having much luck taking soft water on images of, say, waterfall or brook.
Yeah. It is doable. It's the length of time you take the picture. So normally when we take a picture of water or anything, it's a very quick snap, right? It sort of takes it very quickly. So the speed at which the water flows, you don't really see that soft focus because it's just like a snap. You can actually change it, and I think it's like the night mode. It's the time it takes, the shutter stays open, that makes that water sort of all soft focus. And I don't think it's a setting on the phone that is changeable. It's night mode, you can do it. Now, again, I would Google it, but if you had a proper camera, you would actually change it so that the length of time the shutter stays open is able to capture the speed of the water to make it look dreamy and soft focus. But in doing that, because you're keeping the camera open, you have to have it on a tripod. So if you do find that setting on your phone to be able to do it, you will need a tripod for it. So get yourself an iPhone tripod, because you don't want it to judder. And it will, and you'll need a timer setting to do it. So you'll need to set a timer, set it on so that it keeps the shutter open, and do it on a tripod. And I could see one very quick question coming in here for Heather. Do you want me to answer this quickly?
Oh, totally. Yeah, 100%.
Okay, so Heather, hello, by the way. Heather's my neighbor, my lovely neighbor. Okay, it's called Pano. And on the later iPhones, it's on the far, I'm going to show you, it's after portrait mode. Just click Pano, and you see the arrow is pointing in the direction to which it wants to take the picture. So when you take the picture, you've got to have a very steady hand, because you literally, when you shoot, you've got to follow that line, and you've got to sort of keep it straight as possible while it's taking the picture. Okay, otherwise it's going to go up and down and it's going to wobble and it will take a really weird picture. So you literally are holding your camera. And what I do, I stand with one leg out in front of me and one leg to the side. I'll start with my body this way. I'll hold the camera like this, and I will twist my body while I'm taking the picture. And don't breathe. And literally do it like that, Heather. I hope that helps. But listen, you can always come over for a cup of tea and I'll show you how to do it.
Okay, we just need your address. We're all going to show up, because panoramic that's a tough one. No, that was actually really helpful, because I've always had trouble with that as well. Okay. I'm sure everyone's getting just as much great information as I am today. Just would encourage anyone with any final questions. That's really great engagement so far. A lot of really good feedback. Oh, and how to adjust shutter speed and aperture, which I don't know what on proper camera, just not on the iPhone. So
you can adjust the not the shutter speed so much, but you can adjust the aperture. This is what we were talking about with the f-stops. So you can do it in portrait mode. And in portrait mode, I'm just going to switch that over. Okay, so in portrait mode, you would click the little down arrow, which then gives you these options at the bottom. There is an exposure compensation at the top, and there is the f-stops at the other side. So you can actually use exposure compensation. If I click on that, it's not going to let me. Oh, it's because I'm in selfie mode, I think. Hang on. There we go. So when you click exposure compensation, it's got a slider here too. So you can automatically add light and take light away like so. Okay, don't know if everybody's getting that. So that will one thing. Then with your f-stop, you can alter using the slider, the depth of field as well. So those two things actually will help you with getting a better picture, but it doesn't necessarily adjust the shutter speed. Again, that's just the night mode. It automatically does it on iPhones, but I'm not sure if there's any different ones on the Android, but again, that's a Googleable question.
So one follow-up for the pano question, would you recommend doing it kind of like a landscape or the others?
You mean portrait or landscape mode like this?
Yeah. Does it matter?
It does. It really does. When you're wanting grandeur, right? When you're wanting the whole sort of image, definitely do a landscape shot. If you are just doing portraits or something that's rectangular, yeah, then use the portrait. Sorry, the portrait mode is this way, the landscape is that way.
Sure, perfect. Yeah, that's great feedback. Now I know you had a little bit more information, Bridget, before we sign off and I take back over. So just I'll hand it back to you again.
Perfect. Thank you. So hi guys, I don't know if you can see my screen. But I am now booking for the Smarter Smartphone in-person workshop now that COVID has relaxed the numbers of people that can be in a room together. I'm teaching people the what, the why, the how, the wow. And literally it is a 3-hour course covering what we've covered here, but in much more detail. And there will be much more about editing at the end of it. So I'll give you assignments to do. I'll get you to take pictures while I'm telling you how to do it. And then we will edit pictures at the end and we'll have a small critique at the end. I'm doing a minimum of 6 people. Depending on where we do it, we might do it here in my home because I have quite a big space here that we could do it, or I might be doing it at a venue yet to be determined. Dates also yet to be determined, but if anybody is interested, maybe their businesses would like to have a few people come and do it, we can set it up so I come to the business, and that's all doable, and it's only $99 per person for this 3-hour course, and you will learn a lot. I've already had people, let me just here, I've already had people do the course, and we did this before COVID shut us down basically, and I had a lot of great feedback from the course. We had people from Planters Ridge, we've had hairdressers, we've had Grand Prix Winery, Paddy's, Anatolia. We've had a lot of people who just came because they wanted to take better pictures of their grandkids. And all were really, really happy with the results. So if you want to sign up for this great course, you can see here people from Paddy's, Planters Ridge, and people from Grand Prix Winery. We also have Susan over there, which she's from Bessie North House, which is that amazing restaurant that is booked up. So yes, thank you, everybody. I'm just going to go back actually to this one slide here, just so everybody can see my email, Bridget@bridgethavercroftphotography.com. You can call or text me on 902-691-3453, and I will be confirming dates once we've got a minimum of 6 people. Okay, thank you very much, everybody, for listening. And if you have any questions, please feel free to text me anyway. I really enjoyed doing this for you today, and I hope you guys got a lot out of it. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Bridget. Just give me 1 sec. I'm just going to take back over here.
Okay.
Beauty, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, well, thank you again to Bridget. We will.
Yep.
My computer's being silly.
Don't worry.
So we are going to now move on to our great opportunity. We have the Tourism Digital Assistance Program. So the deadline for this is tomorrow at 4 p.m. So if you're interested in applying, this gives your business an opportunity to receive up to $5,000 in services from qualified digital consultants. Unlike other programs where you may receive a consultant's report that tells you what needs to be done, this program actually will have the work done. So there's lots of opportunities to do work on e-commerce, digital marketing strategy, search engine optimization, online booking, social media strategy, website creation, and including website creation, copywriting, and social media posts. So have a look at that if you're interested. The deadline is tomorrow at 4, and the link is there, but it's also actually on our website, tourismns.ca. So maybe we can have somebody share out the link, actually put that address into the chat so that people can actually have an opportunity. I'll get Cindy to do that for me. We have another program that also has a deadline tomorrow. The application is due by 4, and it's Lights, Camera, Action. And this is a pilot program that offers businesses up to $2,500 in services from a qualified photographer. And Bridget actually is one of our qualified photographers that people will be working with. So what a business would receive is photos that you can immediately use to promote your business. And it's also has an opportunity for you to be connected in with Tourism Nova Scotia. So we may use your photos in our marketing. Not guaranteed, but definitely a possibility. So check all these programs out. We're going to talk a little at the end about different ways you can communicate with us, but our In Touch program provides an opportunity for you to receive all relevant information when we send it out. So I'd encourage you to sign up for our In Touch newsletter. It's not a program, it's a newsletter. So I would encourage you to do that. And subscribe. Our upcoming webinars will be released through the In Touch newsletter that I just spoke about. And you can look at all of our previous webinars at tourismns.ca/webinar-series. And we're working on launching new webinars with our partners at Digital Nova Scotia soon, specifically around digital aspects, but we'll also be continuing to host webinars here as well. So stay tuned. All the information is online. Specifically, our consumer website is novascotia.com. So that's where we would like all of our visitors to go. Our email address is tnsbusiness@novascotia.ca. So if you have any questions after the fact, please send them our way. Again, sign up for In Touch, our newsletter. You can follow us on Twitter at tourismns. You can follow us on LinkedIn, Tourism Nova Scotia. Our corporate website is tourismns.ca, and we have an excellent COVID-19 resource section, and that's at tourismns.ca/coronavirus. So once again, thank you for joining us for this excellent webinar that we had today. We are glad that you took the time to join us, and we would really encourage you to join us next time, look at the previous ones you might have missed, and are interested in all your feedback. So thank you so much, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Nick. Thanks, everybody.